Love me. Such a funny child to love me. And I know
This way.
makes our love and living so worthwhile. I'm a lucky guy to have you here. Never shed a tear.
Never shed a tear.
Only when you're so dear to me. Oh, and dear to me. I love you. Such a funny child to love me. And I know there's something in your smile.
It's really hard to give a profile of the time I wasn't a Christian, but because it goes back beyond 25 years ago. I've never been an atheist, though. I've always believed that there was some great being somewhere in the universe that had some sort of control. Although at that particular time, as a child in school and as a young man, I thought, well, if there is a God, well, he leaves us to get on with our own lives. You know, he's really not going to interfere. He has no contact with us. He's just somewhere watching in case something really terrible happens. And my life, therefore, was not devoid of spirituality, but spirituality didn't play any major role. So my life was spent, first of all, trying to do the best I could at school, and then having a burning ambition to be a rock and roll singer, because the moment I heard Elvis Presley, I wanted to sing.
When it comes to rockin', shakin', squeakin', well, I dance every Saturday night. Well, I'm a little not gonna hold it tight. This is the first time I ever felt this way. We're moving up, baby. We're singing our song. The old ones they taught us, they're all dead and gone. 'Cause we say yeah, we say yeah, we say yeah, we say yeah.
So from the age of about 14 until I was 18, I desperately wanted to have fame and fortune. And like everybody else, I guess that's what I chased. That was the most important thing. The strange thing is, though, everyone chases that, but no one seems to learn that neither fame nor fortune necessarily equals success. Success, as I look back on it now, is really belongs to the man or woman who is happy where he or she is. Up to the age of 11, I was quite bright, you know. In my school, I was the number one boy in the school. But we used to have an examination called the 11 plus, and at 11 years old, every child in Britain used to take this special examination, and then you went either to a big school or a little school. And I failed and went to this little school, and it upset my educational process and the psychology of it. Well, I was damaged, I think, in some way. So from then onwards, it was always a struggle to learn. And especially after I had the ambition to be a rock and roll singer, because then I couldn't see the value of learning French, for instance, if I wanted to be a rock and roll singer. Why would I need French? Of course, now I wish I'd learned French, because it wouldn't have changed my ambitions, and it wouldn't have stopped me being a rock and roll singer, and it would have given me a chance to sing and communicate with one of the largest audiences in the world.
Right. Would you call it out to me very slowly? Tu as vu. Tu as vu.
After I'd been successful as a rock and roll singer for about 2 years, like every thinking person, you start to think, well, what is this? I mean, is rock and roll the answer to life? And the more I thought of it, the more I thought, no, it's not the answer to life. And then I thought, well, what is? There must be something in life that's more important than rock and roll. Of course, I realize now what it was, but it took me about 2 or 3 years to ask many questions.
Willie and Millie got married last fall. Had a little Willie Jr. and that ain't all.
And obviously my background as a person who had come through England, and therefore I was not an atheist as such. I just didn't care about God too much. I then looked back into the things I'd been taught as a child, and I remember reading about the Jewish people, and so I went to Jewish people and spoke with them. But for me, as much as I found a lot to admire, I didn't find any complete answers. I then spoke with Jehovah's Witnesses, and over a period of about a year or maybe 2 years, they interested me greatly because they read the Bible regularly. And although I didn't gain much more than that from them, it was enough, because that made me read my Bible. And when I read my Bible, I recognized that what the Bible says is that Jesus is the only way to God. If we want to find our way to God, there is only one way. And it's really the secret of all our successes, I think. If we have the key to something and we use the key to open the door, you're immediately successful. So I believe that the moment I used my knowledge of Jesus and made it something personal by committing myself to him, it opened the door to life for me.
Okay, ready? Go.
Tea is ready, Cliff.
I'll be right down.
Good news, good news, good news. Heard from heaven, that's good news.
When did you become superstar of this generation? When did you become commercial property? Everybody's got their own sweet Lord, hear them sing it. Georgie H, Jimmy T.
I went the same route as everyone goes. You know, when you're 15, 16, you think you know everything. You think your parents know nothing. You think that now I'm 15, I'm learning, I know everything. It's rubbish. I know now. It's easy for me to say now. So if you're 15 now, you may think that you know everything, but believe me, in 5 years' time, you'll realize how little you knew. So it's a big lesson to learn. But when I became 24, I suddenly realized how little I knew about life. And the one thing that's for certain is that my confidence grew as I became a Christian. My attitude changed as I became a Christian, because suddenly it was not important to be right all the time. You know, me, Cliff, I'm the winner, I'm the number one, you know. That became less important. Yes, it's important that my job, that what I do in life is the best that I can do. I put all I have into my career and I do the best. Sometimes I'm successful and sometimes I'm not, but I try my best. But Jesus changes your attitude to yourself, and more importantly, it changes your attitude to other people. So I found slowly I was becoming more involved in organizations like Tear Fund, which works in third world countries. And so major changes, I think. You can't become a Christian and have nothing change. It must change. We are in the world, and the only way that we can affect the world is if we blow the spark where we are and make it fan into a flame, so that each one of us must represent God in the world. It's too easy for God to come down here, you know, and say, oh, poverty. No poverty. Then there is no success for you and me. We had nothing to do with it. And also, if he did that, within 20 years, some of those people would be poor again, and some would be very rich, because that's human nature. I think it would be completely wrong of God to tamper with human nature. He's already made us perfect because we have a choice. And if we choose to burn 20,000 tons of corn, then we have chosen to do something bad, because we could give it to starving people. But we choose to do the bad many, many times. So all we have to do as Christians is to say, there is good in the world. Let's make that good happen in our lives, and therefore start to affect other people's lives, and then people will see the effect of God working through us to change the world. But the world is a very angry place, and it's a very stupid place, because we don't recognize the power that God has given every single one of us, the power for doing good. If only we recognize that power. What you have to do is be sure that you understand more of God with every day. There's only one way to do that, Well, I suppose there's a couple of ways really. But basically, if we read God's Word every day, we don't have to read a whole chapter or a whole book every day. We only have to decide, okay, supposing we say, I'm going to read 10 verses every day of the Bible. It's enough, because in every 10 verses, there is so much information, we'll never take it all into ourselves anyway. So as long as we read something every day, then I think God's messages come through. And the more we understand God, the more we will grow in confidence and strength, and we're able to face the world. You see, I face the world now as a Christian, not because there's anything special about me. There's nothing special about me, except that I sing maybe, I make a noise that someone else doesn't make. But that other person may make another noise that is just as important. So I only know that I can face the world with confidence because I know that God is alive. I know that Jesus is part of my life and that I can be valuable to him if I permit him. And so I would say to young people, let yourself grow in your knowledge and understanding of God and let him use you.
Were you a guru? A godly man? Were you a genius? The best in the land? Everybody's got an interpretation. Truth is, yesterday, today, forever, you'll be staying. Yesterday, today, forever, never wavering. You stated who you were, and that'll never change. Like it or not, you'll always be the same Son of God. Giving life in return for life. Giving love in return for love. Giving all, but demanding all.
You'll pitch it from the bass.
You're a rock singer and you combine it also with a gospel singer and being a Christian. Sometimes I think you have to cope with that. How do you do that?
The only problem is being a Christian. It's tough for everybody. I suppose it's easier for me because I think the hardest place or university or college. To your friends, if they are believers in God, you make fun of them and it can be a very aggressive place. Whereas for me, I don't care if there's a 15-year-old or a 50-year-old looking at this show and saying Cliff Richard is crazy. I say, I don't care if you think I'm crazy. I only know that Jesus is right. And so there is a strength in being older. So for me, perhaps it's not as difficult as some. But it's very important to be the Christian, and that's the tough part. It's always going to be tough to be the Christian. So for me, I suppose, because I have to appear on television, I have to present myself. Not everybody speaks like this. Most people keep things secret. But I feel it's important that my faith is never secret. So my problem is having to deal with the media. I have to speak about my faith when I can on television. When I speak about my faith with the press, sometimes they twist the words, and it's very difficult to receive the truth from a newspaper today. So those are my kind of problems. And of course, every time I go anywhere, because I am a known rock and roll singer, everyone expects me to behave in a certain manner. So there are problems that I have to face that others don't. But no matter where you are, if you're a Christian, it's not going to be easy. There's not a single thing in this earth that does not belong to God. All of it was created by him. But the story also says that there is a devil, a Satan, and he has taken as much as he can and is trying to destroy what God made. And we can give it to him if we want to. If we want to give rock and roll to the devil, he'll take it. He already took a lot of it. I just try to take some of it back because it doesn't belong to the devil. The devil didn't create anything except chaos. And so therefore there is nothing in this world that is really bad, but it can become bad if we allow Satan to use rock and roll or to use the media, to use films, to use television, to use newspapers. And so I would say that all of us must be very aware that we, again, coming back to a very early question, we must be God's representation in whatever job we do. And so therefore, if we're going to represent God, then we have to just do the best we can. So I will go as far as I can into rock and roll, carrying my banner of Jesus. And that's all that matters, because when he wants me to stop, he'll take away all the power that I have within rock and roll. And when I feel that power go, then I'll realize that God is saying, no, Cliff, that's enough now. I don't want you to go any further. I have plans for someone else to do it. And as long as I'm prepared to hear his voice, and sometimes it's hard to hear that voice because he doesn't speak with the voice. Not to me, he doesn't. It's usually through some situation that occurs, or something I read in the Bible, or something someone says to me that I think, hey, wait a minute, I think that's meant for me. So we just have to be representatives wherever we are. If we take note of all the extreme views there are on this world, then it seems to me that this world is doomed, absolutely doomed to fail, and doomed to death. I refuse to listen to all the extremists. I only know that each one of us has a responsibility to our fellow man, and therefore to our environment. So I'm not an extremist, but I believe we must take care of how we live so that we don't damage the environment for the next generation. But I'm not extreme on that, in the same way as I don't have an extreme diet. Even my extreme faith doesn't say, you have to be a Christian. I say, I want you to be a Christian, but if you don't want to be one, it's your choice. So I'm never extreme in anything. I believe in God more than I believe in extreme man. And so therefore God tells me that this earth, we will not have the power to damage this earth. Only God has had the power. He did it once with a massive great flood. And he vowed he would never do it again. And the only thing that will ever happen now to this earth is that one day Jesus will come back and there will be all hell to pay. But that's not in our hands. So I firmly am very optimistic. I think it's good that we are concerned about the world, and we are concerned to be in the middle, not extreme, to care about animals and babies and the environment, but not so extreme that we are blinded to God. I wish I could force people to see and understand Jesus, but I can't do it. So if what we have spoken today about has any value at all, and it has helped one person to understand Jesus a little more, then part of my wish would already be granted. But I would wish everyone to have a fabulous life. But as I say, I can see only one way in which you can have a really good life, and that's with God and with Jesus.